companies, JP Morgan and other companies that really taught me the ropes and everything. Now I'm married. I live here with my family.
No, really? Wow.
Yeah, wife and 2 little girls. And basically it's a dream come true, because I remember when I did the Stanford tour, that you guys have family housing up there.
Yeah.
And I always thought it would be cool to have, one day get married, live here with my family, finishing my school. So
That's great.
So it's a dream come true to be here with my family, and I haven't met a bad professor yet. Everything, the educational part is excellent, and
That's great.
And it's great here.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Delighted to get to know you a little bit.
All right, who wants to start with the first question?
Since a lot of our viewers might not know who you are or what you do, maybe you can kind of introduce maybe a little about yourself, married, kids, and how did you wind up at Alliant International University?
Sure. Glad to do that. I've been in academic administration for, almost 40 years now. So when I say that, I feel very old. I never thought I'd be of an age where you could say I've been doing something for 40 years, but in my case, it's true. I started out, I actually went to Knox College, where President Obama just spoke today. So I'm very proud that my college has been in the news today. It's very exciting. But a small town in Illinois, and I went to graduate school at the University of Chicago. And while I was there, I became a working student. So I'm very sympathetic to students who have to work to support themselves while they go to college, because I spent my entire graduate career doing that. And along the way, I got very interested in academic administration. I enjoyed being a part of the university from sort of behind the scenes, and it just stuck. So after I finished my degree, I continued to work in the administration and spent about 15 years at the University of Chicago. Had an opportunity to come out to Stanford and worked there for about 8 years, working for the president there. I did a little bit of a stint in the online education world, so I have some understanding about that. But then Alliant came along and asked me if I'd consider coming to take over the presidency here, and I did so, and have just been thrilled every day. It's just a great place, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. So to me, it's a great place to use everything I've learned over my career from working in a lot of great places and try to help the school advance. I live in Palo Alto. I still live near Stanford, and my wife works there, in fact, and I have one daughter who's a student there and another daughter who graduated from college a couple of years ago. So two daughters who are pretty much grown up by now. So we're adjusting to that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. That kind of goes to this, and I wanted to ask you about the campus life here at the university. And one of my questions, for being a veteran and like to stay in shape, were there any plans to fund a new gym on the campus?
Yeah. You know, the long-term development of this campus is one of the biggest issues that we're working on right now, and it's an important one. We have, as the mission of the university has changed and evolved over the years, this campus was built for a pretty traditional undergraduate population, mostly students who lived on campus, and so there were the full range of resources here. There were playing fields and swimming pool and things like that. Over the years, not only at Alliant, but really across all of higher education, the population has changed dramatically. So now the vast majority of students who go to college in the United States don't live on campus, and most of them work, and most of them have families. And I think what we're trying to figure out is what's the right mix of services for the campus of the future, particularly the kind of students that we're likely to see here at Alliant. And to be honest, it's a real balancing act, because many schools have invested huge amounts of money in amenities, sports facilities and all kinds of attractions, and see it as a competitive advantage. I am concerned that all of those things add to the cost of going to school. And one of our real genuine commitments at Alliant is to try to keep college as affordable as we possibly can make it. and that means being really efficient with every dollar. So I'm not answering your question very directly because it turns out to be a big and complicated issue and one that we haven't quite settled on. I would love to see some very focused facilities that our students would really make great use of. And I think, some workout facilities, a better gym and kind of more of a health club kind of approach might be the way to go, rather than, fields for intercollegiate athletics, which I don't see we're going to have anytime soon. So we are working on it, and I hope that over the next year or so we're going to be able to unveil some plans in that direction.
How will you feel about student-run programs to incite college life? Like every university has almost its own community, its own life, its own identity.
Yep.
And I had the opportunity to spend some time at Stanford, University of Irvine.
Yep.
And it seems they have a very open community. People get to hang out, clubs, fraternities. How would you feel about programs like that here?
I think those are the best kinds of programs because they're obviously the ones people want. If the students are invested in making them work, then you know that there's interest and support. And I think we've got, in the last couple of years, we've had some great things develop. I think the Latino Students Association is really just marvelous. And it's not only fun and important because it draws that community together, but I am so impressed with how inclusive the Student Association is. I tell people all over, every time I talk about Alliant, I say one of my favorite moments is going to the Latino Students Association Awards dinner, and many of the students who are getting awards are from China. And people laugh at that. I mean, they can't. You say, you're kidding. How can that possibly be? I think that is actually the epitome of Alliant, where we celebrate cultural differences, but we don't do it by building walls around ourselves. We do it by making communication between communities even stronger. So, and I think, quite honestly, if the administration had set up that club, it wouldn't have evolved that way. It's because the students made it happen, and the students are so naturally open and willing to engage with people that I think it is just a magnificent statement about what Alliant really represents. So I congratulate all of you who I know are involved in that. And I think it's just wonderful.
And actually, thank you so much. That actually leads me to my next question on LSA, LAI, ACHA, the Chinese Student Association. And the question was, will there be more funding for the organizations on the campus?
Sure. I think we can make small amounts of funding available. Again, now that they've really taken root, I think they've become so important. So I'm hoping that in the coming year I can really work with the organizations and with student government in general, and we can try to promote those things that are working and that students really value.
Because that's a great, the clubs, when I first got here, I got introduced to a Latino Student Association and the Veterans Association, and I met Guadalupe Corona, who kind of guided me in, and I wound up working for a Latino Associate Initiative, and it's given me a great opportunity not just to help Latinos, but other nationalities, and that's what I like about working there. It's a big family, it doesn't matter where you're from, what culture, and I really enjoy that.
Couldn't agree more. One of the things that we've actually achieved some national recognition for at Alliant is trying to build bridges between international education and multicultural education. And those two things sometimes we talk about as being similar, but they're really quite different. Multicultural, we usually think of as dealing with ethnic differences within the United States. So we have lots of different communities, immigrant communities and racial communities, and that in higher education is known as multicultural. International is obviously people coming from other countries. I think Alliant has really become a pioneer in seeing that that's a continuum. It's not one thing over here and one thing over here, but really there's a blend. The provost and his staff have been involved, some of the faculty have been involved in a pilot project with the American Council of Education based in Washington. And they really came to Alliant and said, you guys seem to have something really special going on here. How can we bring some notice to that and make it apparent to other schools and colleges. And it's I think, again, it's one of my proudest moments about being associated with Alliant.
And that's what I like about this university. It makes history.
It does. It is. Yeah. We are always at the innovative edge of things. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, questions.
My questions are more like general, get to know our president, and
Sure.
they're more low key.
Okay.
More personal.
All right.
So one of my questions is, what was your favorite subject in school while going on school?
Well, in both college and graduate school, I was a philosopher. My PhD is in philosophy, and so I've always kind of liked, big ideas and theory, and I frankly was not much good at math and science, but coped with that. But no, I've always really enjoyed. I read just about anything I can get my hands on, and I've always liked writing, and so working with language and with ideas have been the things that have most attracted me in school.
Which brings me to the next question. What's your favorite book? I know it's hard, but
Oh,
any great
goodness,
books out there?
boy, that is a tough.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of Mark Twain. I love reading Mark Twain. He's not much of a philosopher, but he's a great writer. Some books that have had a real influence on me, some books in philosophy. I mean, it sounds a little obvious to say, but things like Plato's Republic and some of the Greek classics really influenced me a lot when I was in college. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten much more interested in history. For example, Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote a biography of Lincoln, which is just magnificent. Talked about how he put his cabinet together. It was called A Team of Rivals, and it's just an extraordinary book. And I think I've probably gotten more appreciative of understanding history as I've gotten older, and so I spend a lot of time reading that now.
Thank you. What accomplishments are you most proud of? I know you have some quite.
Oh, goodness. Well, there are personal accomplishments. I'm very proud of my daughters, obviously, and my family. But, I have always taken a lot of pride about being involved in innovation wherever I've worked. And I think, each of the positions I've held through my career, the things that I look back on as the things that are most important, that I feel like I've really contributed to, are things that, I made a difference in. We all like to feel like we're making a difference. In Alliant's case, I think we, over the last few years, have been shaping a new kind of mission for a university. This notion that a university is built on a professional education model, even at the undergraduate level, is something that is fairly unique. I think we've done an interesting job of taking a very disparate collection of campuses and programs that span, 6 or 7 cities in California and 3 international cities, and time zones and cultures and all of those differences, and tried to fashion it into a single institution. And I'm very grateful to all of the people who worked with me on that, the faculty, the staff, the leadership, the deans. But to me, that is a source of great pride. The addition of the San Francisco Law School to our family of schools 2 years ago is, I think, a great addition, not only academically, but I think it just adds to our mission in very important and substantial ways.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question. Being a student-run newspaper, what do you think as you know, a lot of media, one of their main objectives is keeping the institutions honest, the government's honest.
Sure.
The whole, they're always showing controversial information. Do you think that's something that should reflect on a student-run newspaper at a university?
I do. I mean, I think that those parts of a free press apply as much on a campus as they do, downtown San Diego. I think there's a slightly different twist on it in a university setting. Not everybody would agree with this, but I actually think that student publications are great vehicles for dialogue, and so I don't think it should be an adversarial role. I don't think it should always be from the position of a critic of the institution, but more as a way of exposing the range of opinions that exist. And we all know there are two sides to every story, usually more sides than two.
Yes.
And I think that as a sort of honest broker of ideas on a campus, I think that a student publication can do a great job of sort of gathering that and making them apparent. Sometimes it's not, as president, it's not always going to be pleasant for me to read that somebody's critical of something we're doing, but, that's okay. I mean, that's what we're here to do. Universities are, sorry to interrupt, it may be important. I mean, every university, at the end of the day, is really here as an institution dedicated to the exchange of ideas. That's what we're here to do. And I think that should be a characteristic of every organization within the institution. It's not, none of us have a monopoly on the truth. None of us are expert about everything. And we all have different points of view as a community. And so I think whether it's in a classroom or a student organization or a student newspaper or something that I write, I think we all have an obligation to honor and respect the full range of opinions that are present on the campus.
And that's one of the things we want to focus on. Instead of coming with a list of complaints, or we're going to come out with a list of recommendations.
I think that's
great. And so if you happen to read the paper, or Russ Newman happens to read it, maybe he'll read and take into consideration and just act on it. And instead of saying, Alliant did this, which I think just complaining and not recommending is very counterproductive, and it really doesn't get anyone anywhere. And
I think one of the unfortunate things in our political climate, and to some extent in the press, is that everything now has become so polarized. We see it, we see it in Congress, we see it turn on the cable news. Everybody's always at loggerheads and trying to score points rather than make things better. And so I appreciate the spirit you're offering, and I certainly offer it in return. That if there are ways in which we can use dialogue in the community to try to improve things, I welcome that, and I'm delighted to have you as partners in that.
thank you. Any other questions?
My question would be, we kind of see maybe what the next 5 years might be. What do you think of the next 10 years for the university?
Well, there's a big question. I certainly have some goals. I'd like to see us, certainly build up the undergraduate program more. That's become a major priority for us, is to, add students, add a range of courses and degrees and majors, to extend our undergraduate programs not only probably outside of San Diego to some of the other Alliant campuses, but also to experiment with some online programming. We're never going to be a 100% online university, but I think that's something we need to get more actively involved in as it becomes a more prevalent part of higher education. One of my huge goals is to create stronger links between particularly the San Diego campus and our campus in Mexico City, which is growing to be a very vibrant and robust campus, growing very rapidly. And I would like to see, exchanges going back and forth, on a continuous basis, so that we really do get the benefit of two cultures, two nationalities, two languages. I think that really could be a unique characteristic of the university. So those are some of my hopes, and I hope it doesn't take 10 years to get there, but I hope within 10 years we can do that. But I will also say that I think that higher education nationally, internationally, is changing so rapidly that it's very hard to predict what the future is going to look like for any institution. And so I think we always have to temper our own plans with the reality that the world around us is not standing still, and we're going to have to adjust and roll with those punches just like everybody else. But I think the good news is that that's very much a part of our history here at Alliant. I mean, we've changed our mission and adopted different profiles and changed our structure repeatedly over the last almost 100 years now. And I think that's a sign of a source of strength, actually, that we can continue to meet the needs of today's students and not get so bound up in our own traditions and our own history that we lose track of what we're trying to do today.
Fantastic. Thank you. My last question is, how do you feel the retention of military on the campus? Is there a focus? Also, is there a focus to recruit more military members?
Absolutely, on all counts, for all kinds of reasons. Obviously, being a part of the San Diego community means being a part of the military culture that is so dominant here in the city. And I will say again, I have grown enormously in my respect for the military as a place in which people develop skills and develop new opportunities. It is a true meritocracy, and I think we can learn a lot from that culture in the institution, and I hope vice versa. We are trying as best we can to be very responsive to our veterans and active duty students while they're here on campus. I think Tina Mancata does a great job in that, and we'd like to extend those resources even further. Again, I'm extremely proud of the fact that we've had some recognition for being a best for vets, according to some publications. A year ago, when we looked at really the first wave of students who'd come in under some of the new federal programs and realized that 100% of our military students had graduated on time, again, that's something that I just trumpet every chance I get, particularly when you see how much I think, frankly, military students have been taken advantage of by some other universities. I think too many institutions have seen this as a kind of easy source of money because obviously military students come in with so many benefits, I never want to be accused of that. I think if we bring a student in, we have an important obligation to help them succeed, but it is a very high priority.
Well, thank you, and I know for my first-hand experience that when I first came here, it was about me. It wasn't about the university.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me into the university was the relationships. It wasn't I see you today and see you 3 months from now. So I like that relationship, the development, and that's why I'm still here and I'm doing my master's. So
that's great.
Maybe I'll do my PhD.
Good. All right.
We're not just another number. We're a student. We're a face, and we're part of the school, and we're not left alone, especially because I'm first generation to go to college.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh,
Right.
I feel lost. But now then I meet the people and meet the staff, and everybody's like so welcoming and they're committed to guiding us to the right path, and that's what I love about Alliant too.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think that, look, we're a small institution. There are many things that we cannot offer students, and that is what it is. And I think that if a student was to look at Alliant and say, I'm really interested in some, program that they don't have here, then don't come here because we're not interested in disappointing people. But I think for people who want to come and participate in the programs we have, we do offer this really personal and intimate service and this connection with faculty and staff. I think it is an environment in which everybody's trying to provide as much support as possible for students. And again, the diversity of students that we do see at Alliant makes that a particularly interesting challenge, because whether you're dealing with English as a second language speaker from overseas, someone who comes from a very different educational culture, has different preparation coming into the program here, first generation students, people from different economic backgrounds who've come with different opportunities, military students. That's an extraordinarily diverse mix of people. And I think that our faculty really pride themselves on adapting themselves to the needs of their students, and that's not something that I've seen happen everywhere.
Any other question, guys?
Well, my last question, if someone will ask to give them any advice, what would it be?
Any advice? Gosh.
Students, educational
Educational
students.
advice. Well, there are a lot of, I don't know, you probably hear this from almost anybody in education, but I think that's because they tend to be true.
Mhm.
Follow your passion. I think that there is, nothing more satisfying than getting involved in something that you really care about, where the study is not work, but it's a joy to pursue. And I think, again, universities really are platforms for that to happen. It's not that we can force that to happen. We don't always even succeed at it, but I think the best success we can have as educators is when students really find something that just captures them heart and soul and changes their life. And so I hope that we can provide those opportunities for students here, and I think that it's incumbent on students to really take advantage of that. I think there's a kind of related corollary to that, which is that nobody can learn for you, and so it's the old adage, you get out of it exactly what you put into it. And again, I will say I think Alliant is special in many ways. We don't have tons of activities that are pulling you in countless directions. We kind of assume that students are here pretty much for a serious purpose, and that's why they're here. And if you want entertainment, you can go somewhere else for that. But we're here as a school, and we're not pretending to be all things to all people. We're not pretending to satisfy every interest you have in life. But for the one thing that we do provide, we want to do it as well as we can. But that's a partnership. That means that the students here working just as hard as the faculty to try to have a successful outcome. So again, those are, I guess, kind of boring old teacher notions, but but I think that they stand the test of time.
I have a question. I know we're a nonprofit, but Alliant or universities in general, what is the university in business in? What type of business are we in? Students, education?
Yeah, we're 100% focused on education. So, and even that's a little bit unique. If you think about, and I'm not going to criticize anybody else, but if you think about, great big state universities, for example, former president of the University of California, a very prominent man called Clark Kerr, once said they're not universities, they're multiversities, because they have so much going on. They have everything from research, which is a key part of their mission. They obviously have teaching, they have professional education, they have sports teams, they have all of the range of a lot of public service, huge range of activities. And that's a model. That's a model of education that's clearly very important, and in many ways it's something that the United States has invented and is still the best in the world at. I think at the other extreme, you've got, not extreme, but other end of the spectrum, you've got universities that are extremely focused on one thing. It might be a school that's focused on art, or a school that's focused on music. We're a little bit in the middle. We're a small place, again, that focuses on a handful of majors. But everybody who's here is here for one purpose, and that's to help students succeed. We don't have people who have big research labs funded by the government. We don't have people here who are doing a lot of ancillary kinds of things. They're working here because they're contributing to student success, and that's our mission, and that's really what we're here to do.
And this is exactly how I feel like. For example, the newspaper right now is completely funded by me. In the future, I will plan to run ads and get some, the regular revenue any newspaper comes with. And but I'm a regular student. I'm running low on cash, and would you feel that something like this? I think a newspaper is the most core value to any institution. And do you think that? Let me rephrase this. We would like to see if we can get the full support at the university, being more open. Let us, get this information for the good. Obviously, open dialogue. If there's something they rather we didn't completely disclose or disclose certain parts of it, obviously we're willing to work with that. But we wanted to hopefully, I don't know if you can oblige us with that, just to get a small memo saying please support our local envoy. Our number one goal is to compete at a national level because we want Alliant to be recognized. I have a lot of pride in my university, and the reason is why is when I first got here, they thought I was going to a trade school.
Yes, I know.
And when I go out, I want everybody to know that this is a graduate 4-year private school, and we're working on a marketing plan that maybe we can work with your local marketing department. Where every shop the university students work, not work, but shop or contribute to their business, we're gonna ask them to put a poster. I don't know if you remember the old mountain lion mascot.
Sure.
We're gonna something bringing back the pride, the mountain lion pride, a lion, an envoy, and have us be. This is our hometown. Like Little Christmas is gonna be our hometown. For example, I don't know if you've been to USD right there in Linda Vista.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk in, it says Linda Vista, home of
Right.
So that's.
Well, to that, I think, as you know, we're opening a program down in the National City, and so maybe there are ways to link that community as well. But one of my concerns, frankly, is keeping those students feeling like they're a part of the Alliant community as well. And so maybe, I'd be particularly interested in talking to you about that.
Okay.
And then also in Mexico City.
We can definitely, if obviously Alliant help us communicate, we would be more than happy to come in, integrate, and create chapters of that, so we're all interconnection. With today's technology is super inexpensive.
Sure.
We could have had this. I have the ability right now to stream it live to internet, or even have a group, interview from Mexico, from South Bay right now.
Right.
That was originally the idea. We were going to have a monitor for you and students, but because of change of time, they didn't let us do that. But we can still do it with editing.
No, I understand. Well, I think it'd be a great goal. We actually today have something like 300 undergraduates in Mexico City, and I think that we'll have 50 to 100 students starting in the fall in National City, and we've got 150 here on the campus. So you put all that together, and you've got a pretty large group of people just at the undergraduate level. And I think that one of the great things that your efforts could do would be to knit those folks together to feel like they're part of a single community rather than.
And in Mexico City, I think a newspaper would be a great idea because, as you know, a lot of newspapers are really not frowned upon, but they're really influenced by the cartels because they're disclosing.
Yeah.
And if they feel that they can report things about their own university, for example, I'm going to start a column, being a college student married with 2 kids, how it is that, and really maybe they can write columns how it is to be a college student in Mexico City.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you have some ideas, we'd be happy to.
Let's keep talking about that. We can make some connections and see if we can't organize some things.
And if you have any, I will definitely I'll send you a budget.
Good.
And so we can. Let me see. I have one more question. I got a little small bio from you online. It says that you enjoy cooking and gardening.
Yeah. I'm a good cook. I'm not a very good gardener, though.
Okay. What's your favorite food to cook?
Oh, goodness. That's a hard one. You know, I make a pretty good enchilada.
Oh,
Wow.
we might have to take it up on that.
Yeah, okay.
And any other statements you want to make in general? We're going to put it on YouTube. If you want to make a general statement for the undergraduate class, you can, or if a small one, I can definitely send it to you before we post it so you like it.
No worries. I trust you completely to edit however you want to. I think it's great. Again, no, I'm really grateful that you are all starting this up, and I think it's a terrific way to build community. That's certainly a high priority of ours. And I think to all new students coming to Alliant, I wish you the best of luck and an open invitation with any issues or complaints, you know, problems, success stories. I want to hear them all. Bring them to me personally. It's very easy to get in touch with me by email, and although I do, you know, spend a lot of time on all of our campuses, not just San Diego. I'm here regularly and would love to continue meeting with you, with the other student groups. And, I think we're all rooting for the same team here, and I think the more we can celebrate that, the better off we'll all be.
Any other questions, guys?
I just personally just want to thank you for your time. You know, you're a very busy
Great pleasure.
Person, and I just really want to thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for listening and providing more ideas, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Marisol. Nice for all of you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. What I want to say is thank you, not only for this, but that opportunity during the Latino Festival to give you a hash to thank you for all you've done for your university. And that was just a small token, but for me to see an individual, not just to see as the president, but to be able to come and talk to us and come to the ceremony, I mean, that means a whole lot for the students. And the undergrad students see that, and they're focused. That's great. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Well, listen, if there are other events, you know, I'm sometimes, because I'm not here regularly, I'm not aware of stuff going on, but I welcome those opportunities. So if there's a good party, let me know and I'll be there.
Okay, definitely. We'll try to organize something. Usually, we try to organize really full and cultural parties, clean parties, and hopefully, like, try to do a fundraiser. We're really hurting. This month, I'm not gonna pay myself full bill. I invested a lot. I bought some printers. I bought some cameras. I really believe on the newspaper. I think when I first came here, I couldn't believe it. We didn't have one, but I was happy to know that we did, and it was just on hiatus.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, the AMBO has a great history, and hopefully we'll get in touch with the alumni, and they'll have more reading based, and hopefully by the end of the year, at least Southern California or California know who Alliant is.
That's great. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Good.
Little photo op real quick, and that's it.
Excellent.